something was none. So what it is, it was saying that there's a question for
Okay, that should be how I did, I guess.
Sorry,
Sorry, get that? Okay. Zoom out?
I think zooming out, yeah, a little. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Okay. There we go. Let's see if I can see.
Yes.
So, sorry, I'm having technical problems during the
No problem.
So, well, this is the final, let's maybe I go through this camera. Okay, so this is the final seminar, final demo. So what we want to do is to see how far you've come, see the demos, and hear your retrospectives. And also, I would like everybody to reflect a little bit upon lessons you learned during this course, and both in terms of the way of working and in terms of the tool stacks and the methodologies. So I don't know if we really need all the full 2 hours of doing that, or 90 minutes, but we'll spend whatever time it takes to go through this. And then at the end, after a break, we'll go through some slides. We were trying to get some external company to come in and talk about what's next. I mean, in a half a year, you're graduating, going out in industry. Say a little bit about what would meet you there and what are the expectations from the companies. And we haven't been able to get company to come. So what I'll do, I'll go through the slides that the guy we had last year from a Norwegian company, where he was making the slides. I'm just going to go through them and reflect a little bit on top on what he was saying. So should this time, which group you didn't start?
Yeah.
You haven't started, so you want to start.
Global is always the first.
Yeah. So global is not the last one. Is that? I think you never started, did you? No. So you're up first. Okay. So and yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Well, I think maybe I've been done for the fun now.
You aren't done yet?
I'm starting.
We have to run a server.
You have to run the server. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll get the server started. Okay. So. Do you want to be over there or something? We could change the camera.
The table.
The table on the other side, okay. We're moving the table, not the camera. Sounds good. Okay, something like that. There you go.
On Rune's computer is still showing.
You want to change the
Press left.
choose laptop instead of this.
There we go. Okay.
We can start.
Exactly. These are the tasks that are done this sprint. We can go through each task and just look at how the tasks look. You can start at the top, store all answers from students from questionnaires. That's to do with grading in edX. So that's how the edX stores the grades when you do a course. So here we can see that these three users, the two of them, have got 75% of the things correct, and the last one has got minus 25%. So these are passing and these are failing because this is green. Not the minus instead.
Because you get minus points if the answer is wrong and the confidence level is high.
Yeah. Flexible number.
First, this question. Is the audio okay or should I speak louder?
Pardon me?
Should they? Okay. Can you hear what they are saying or should I speak out louder?
No, I can hear them, I think good, but I cannot hear you because
Right, sorry.
you have some far from, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And the other task we did is this flexible numbers of option per question. That is in the editor view in edX. Because now there's only 3 options per question, but if you want to add another one, you can just add the option and Rune has the sort of 4th option. So obviously this is the correct one, and I'm very confident. Then you get 2 points. Maybe it's someone else is not correct.
Get minus one.
And then also this should be updated. Update the correct answer in the studio editor. That's if you edit something here and write, because this correct answer has to match one of the alternatives. So if you write like this, you just get an error somewhere there. Okay, and yeah, that was these tasks, and then implement functionality as an extension. Martin is currently.
I'm on the day thing, so it's probably be a time before I can actually show it.
Okay. Yeah, because the server is running on a USB stick.
Yeah, so
I'm currently then.
Waiting stuff.
Okay, but we have some retrospective things. Should we do that now? Burn on chart, yes.
So we have some time remaining because it's meetings or
I set meetings to 0, but it is
and the report also that we're going to finish. By the end of the 13th, I think.
As you can see, for instance here, there's a lot of drop in the remaining estimate, but there is no added work. That's because we found one task to be quite simple, but we thought it was very hard, so we just set the remaining to 0 when we knew it was done. That produces large drops in remaining without the time spent increasing accordingly.
Yeah, and we also had to do a sprint review. We lost the number, so we had to remove some tasks. Some are still there, I think, that are not going to be completed.
At least the report is estimated for 4 people, not 3, so that's why it's kind of high still. We won't use.
But if you go back to the plan, why are there so many tasks that are starting, I mean, the 29, 40, 33, 39, 32, what are these?
When we used a lot of time to discuss the group things, we used a lot of time on that we could have used for development. And also this one and this one and this one is for the main
They're going to be finalized before you end up the project? Or some of these are just going to be cancelled, or?
These are going to be cancelled because these belong to the estimate of the fourth manager.
Right.
So these are the complete tasks that we got from the beginning, but we lost 2 members in the meantime. So
Right, okay.
difficult to complete them.
And the ones that are in progress and ready for review, they will be completed, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically done.
Yeah, we just haven't reviewed them.
Right.
Looks like we will review them.
Right, well, maybe there is more cable on the floor.
Let's keep straight the pipe, please. Yes. Thank you. Where's it?
Project, is that laptop button, yeah?
Yeah, it's yellow, so.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, now
Yeah, so I guess it gets to talk to me about. My task for this sprint was making sure that thing I developed the previous time worked as an extension of the EX. Kind of work to extend the functionality of existing questions instead of starting to, well, okay, just making sure it won't just show it instead of, okay. So, after you answer a question, where in a sort of component where it's enabled, you will get a toggle button to determine whether you find the question to be harder or easier than average. So, just click it and then go to the next one, type something that is probably wrong. Check it, okay, you didn't really like my input, I guess, but that's not my fault. No, go to the last one. So that is more or less fixed. Probably not the best solution, but since I was already working with Nextproc, it was a little bit too late to go and find how to actually manipulate entire components within the framework. So yeah, that's kind of not considering everything.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, but we have some thoughts about our project work also. Because there is a community in edX development community.
on Slack.
Yeah, which we should have contacted earlier because we contacted them a week ago or something and we still haven't gotten an answer. So
So it's kind of easy to contact them, but they're not always replying. So when I asked the question, they started to talk about the new community in Japan or something. So and it didn't get answered. So yeah, we probably should have started earlier with this, but we managed to finish all the work anyway.
then we did manual integration testing.
Yeah.
If we had all 5 members that we started off with, we probably could have afforded to use one to set up the Jenkins testing environment, but we focused on developing features instead of having automated testing.
Yeah, but whenever something that is worth testing has been developed, it has been tested. If it's able to integrate in the platform. So now the tests that have been developed are integrated in the platform actually.
So you have a manual test script that you follow, or how do you do the manual testing now?
We get errors if there is something wrong and you try to install it on the edX platform. So if we are able to install it and use it,
Yeah, but I mean, use it. Do you have a set of operations you do, or you just random try a little here and there? Or?
When you test it, you run the server and install Dateflow, update it, and
Yeah.
then you test it.
Yeah.
So
you basically
there are
just have to
some
go through
procedures
the
and
use
steps.
of the export, see any errors or issues. And we didn't get to start the task 3 from the assignment, which had to do with video creation.
So there are 3 people, as you were saying. We did not manage to start this.
Well, the main problems or difficulties we had in this project was that documentation is very hard to find.
Sometimes it exists, but it's very difficult to find it. So when we were trying to solve some problems, we did not find the documentation, but when we solved it, it was easy then to find it actually. Yeah. So it's also difficult to communicate with this community. We should start early and wait. Well, maybe not wait for an answer, just keep looking for an answer instead of waiting for them to reply. And,
The question about finding the documentation. Now that you have found the documentation in some cases, would it be easier to find the next piece of documentation, or do you think you always have to solve it first before you find it? Or is it, asking this way, is it more obvious to you now where documentation is than it was before, or is it still a puzzle and a nightmare?
it's still
The problem is that some parts of the documentation is located at this site, and some other parts is located at this site. So there is no one place where you can find all the documentation.
But this is all in 2 places, or are there more than 2 places?
Probably more than 2 places.
Probably.
I think all is in Git, but there are different repositories.
Oh, okay. So understanding the repo structure could be something that's worth investing in, or
Probably.
probably.
because there are sometimes pages that have information about something else, and then you find grading in there. So it doesn't match. When you look for that page, you look for something else, and then you find grading there. It doesn't match how you search the documentation. Some good experience is that you've been getting better at logging hours and task estimation. So in this point, we have been logging all hours, I think, and getting better at estimation of the tasks.
But in terms of the tools and the or Jira tools, have been working just fine for you guys?
Yeah. That's we don't have to invest many hours to use it. We just use it.
So like this vagrant, although it takes a lot of time to set up on shutdowns and testing takes a lot of time. But yeah, I'm running on a flash disk, so.
So you have a couple of words in the end about the, you weren't a global group, but you worked on a type of global project. So any feedback, do you feel like having a global experience, feel like having valuable experience in terms of working on a global project?
Yeah, well, in terms of having a community that we at least should have contacted earlier. It has been global, but we should maybe have thought about that earlier, and that would have made it more global. So. But at least now we know how we should work in such a global setting. So that's an improvement. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you then. The other OpenNX projects. And Marcus is on? Yes, he's on somewhere. On the table. And if he wants to say something, then
he dropped off from my one. He will be on his one.
perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
I know him. I don't know if
Because it was earlier.
He was?
Yeah.
He's not with me. He was.
Yeah, so this is our final sprint presentation. We are now only as 4 instead of 5 as it was in the beginning. We'll come back to that later on. The next slide, you can see our overview, which is a short summary of what was done this past sprint, our retrospective. But the demo comes before the retrospective, and a summary of what we've experienced during this course.
Yeah, so what has changed since the last sprint? We have added persistence to all questions and the answers and grade calculations, meaning they stay no matter what system users or which user you're logging with. We calculate the scores by using classes. We pass an instance of it, and it calculates the score, and we're able to save it. And then we solve task 2, which is the confidence level. So we have added that in addition to the above and below average difficulty. So now it's the demo.
So basically everything starts with the student feed, where the student can answer questions, choose the confidence level and the difficulty level. He also gets feedback on the correctness of the answer. And can calculate the grade and see grade. For now, the grade calculation is provides some dummy data because we couldn't mimic the bigger amount of students. So for now, it's just one student. And if the student is the only one who have chosen the above average difficulty, he gets additional point. So that's why it's 100%, even though he answered incorrectly. Then we can go to the studio data, where we can modify questions, delete alternatives, change the correctness, save questions, add new question. And enable or disable the tutorial. And we can answer the question. And the last view is the author view, where the teacher can see how the different students answered the question, the questionnaire, and see the grades and everything related to the student. That's Marcus. Marcus, are you there? Marcus.
He's muting his microphone, or
Can you say something?
Yes.
almost.
Almost.
So we can start.
I have to open this thing because it is sharing.
Ah, you're trying to
Maybe we can connect the speakers, some speakers, and we can find the external one for the speakers. Probably along with all the cables, the cable for the.
Can you see us here now? You can hear me?
Yeah, we're working on plugging in extra speakers to make you louder.
Nice. There we go. Can I start?
Yes.
Okay. Since the last sprint, we have improved the continuous integration workflow.
Can you present the slide because it's small?
Small, okay.
Top right corner, present.
There it is. Okay. Okay, great. Since the last sprint, we did some improvements. We have replaced Jasmine Node with Karma, so that we could run tests without having the web server running and the whole project. Also, we could, in addition to Selenium, we could also support Phantom.js for local testing. And in addition to that, we added coverage reports to SonarQube, so that you can take a look at the code base and see how active it is and so on. So I can show you that. See, yeah, you're also in SonarQube. And we added two projects because of the one for the JavaScript and one for Python. Because they are different languages. So if you take a look at Python project, you can see here there's information on it and point analysis. Here. And we have an overview where we can take a look at critical issues and so on based on our quality profile for that language. And we can also take a look at unit test coverage for some selected files. Like this. There you see the files and you see the coverage, test coverage. And if you look at this question file, question class, you can see here that we have what we have tested. All the green, the light mark with green are okay. So this whole class is tested 100%. Yeah, and we also have the same for JavaScript here. You can see. And this is all this is based on the test written in Node test for Python and Jasmine test for JavaScript. And we can then here. We have tests for the Python question class. We have added positive tests that test the normal flow, and we have added negative tests to the tests that can add invalidation and so on. And if we look at the corresponding tests for JavaScript, we can see here that we have some setup methods that runs before each test. We can set up the HTML so that we can use for the jQuery and for the DOM testing and so on. So it's possible to test all the code, not just part of it, because the HTML is missing. Also, we can take some data from the server, so each request doesn't go to the server, it just runs locally. So we can test the front end just code without the exploit here. So yeah, send it out with positive and negative tests and so on. So yeah, I think that's it. We started with late working tests, so we could have written more tests, and if we had another sprint, it would have been possible. So that's at least after it. So. Okay, that's all for me.
So, in retrospective, what went well during this sprint cycle? We have increased our efficiency compared to the last sprint, because we are working more independently compared to the last sprint. We have a better flow of work that is contributed to the efficiency, because we have been using more time to develop than to trying to understand and do research on the platform. It is also the better communication is part of the collaboration. So what went wrong during this sprint cycle? We lost a group member. We should have started with writing test, as Martin said, much earlier. But yeah, part of that is because we're having a hard time integrating the testing platform. But we in the end managed to do so, but we could have covered a lot more of the code if we started earlier. And we were still having mismatch between interfaces. Because for the last sprint, we also had some mismatches between interfaces because we couldn't understand the technology or the platform. But for this sprint, we understood it maybe too well, so we started working sometimes independently. And when the tasks were finished, the communication were not perfect. So what could we have done differently in the group? The group issues we should have handled earlier and being more clear about it. We should have been more strict and enforcing of group rules far better. And the second thing is we should have handled the interfaces better, trying to map out each of those, be able to work independently and in the end have a better communicating platform. We'll go deeper into the issues group member. So we ended up having a meeting with the supervisor, which in the end agreed on giving the group member a new chance. But unfortunately, the group member dropped out after the meeting. And yeah, that's just about it, really. Yeah. And as I said earlier, we should have handled the issue earlier and be more clear about it. And Jira-wise, we changed to using epics instead of subtasks. We're not sure whether it contributed in any helpful way compared to the using task and subtasks, but we were able to try it out and it worked. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a word art chart may look bad, but it's, compared to the last sprint, at least there is a word art chart. So yeah, there was also the spike you can see at the end. It's because of the group report, because we had assigned approximately 1 week for each member or something like that, and we basically ended up having them 11 weeks remaining, and we figured we won't use 11 weeks, so we set the remaining to 0, and then it was like, boom, down there. So it kind of messed up the scaling, and it's, the part of the problem has also been that time hasn't been logged when the work has been done, but in days after, or in worst case scenario, the week after. So that's why this, like you can see at the end, it's more parallel to the scaling than it is in the beginning, where it's just like a barely scratching the surface.
Yeah, and then the sprint started later for us.
Yeah, it started up approximately 3-4 days later, I think. And it wasn't actually started until after we resolved the group issue, because we needed to figure out how it would be before we could assign tasks. So that's also part of the reason why it's not until the 22nd that you can see that actually work has been logged. We should try to live presentation. So yeah, what have you experienced during this course? The plan is to basically have this as a summary for all 3 sprints. What we have done is we have learned how to try to collaborate as a semi-global group, since we had 2 members originally that were off campus. So that was some part of the trying to figure out how do we work, because there's one thing is when everyone can just meet on campus and work together. Another thing is when you have 2 people that aren't locally, so you have to think otherwise how to make sure everyone does their part and is part of the group and is able to be up to date with everything that's done. And what we also found was that we used a lot of different stuff for the communication and documentation. For example, for the communication part, we use both Hangouts for the daily meetings, the daily scrums, etc. We created a Facebook group with a belonging chat to discuss things that came on the fly or just to ask questions. For the documentation part, we use both Google Drive and Confluence, where the separation was that in Google Drive, we basically put everything that was related for us as a group, from how-to guides to installation guides, meeting notes, the sprint presentations. And in Confluence, it was basically everything of the information relevant to the project and for the supervisors, for example, the meeting notes and system documentation. One of the things we found was that the estimation was not always as easy, as you can see with the group report, where we missed up a lot on the timing. But what we found is that aside from that, on the other task, we actually managed this sprint to do a better estimation than we did on the previous one. So it was actually more accurate, although the timing is pretty skewed, because since we had during the first sprint, we had issue with the burnout chart not being shown. So I created dummy tasks that got dummy time and was set so they like, when I created a time report, we actually have a minus 13% accuracy. So it's kind of screwed. And we also learned how it is to work on an existing code base, because the difference is that when you're creating something from scratch, you can basically, to some degree, do whatever you want, because there's no existing code you have to rely on, there are no guidelines, there are no certain implementation functionality that you have to follow, so you can basically do whatever you want. But in this case, you have like the OpenEdX, which is the system which everything you develop runs in. And then you have the Xblocks, which are functions like a plugin or a fragment like in Android, where you just create HTML windows that runs in the system. So you have to adhere to both the edX guidelines and the Xbox guidelines. The documentation is non-existent. You can go to edX, and the documentation is so outdated that nothing works, because you can go to but if you go to the GitHub repo, you find that like half of the documentation found on the edX page is outdated because none of the commands longer work, and half of the commands aren't even in use anymore. So we had to actually just mostly try and fail or Google, which is one of the reasons why we started writing installation guides and how to save us time. So we just wrote whatever we did and posted it on the Google Drive so you can see what else we could do. And we were also restricted to, for instance, it being using Python 2.7 and running in the Ubuntu virtual machine, or as a virtual machine in the Ubuntu operating system. For instance, you have an error message, which we didn't get in this project, but I got when I was working with some parts in edX, which is that the global name is not defined, which is actually just an error saying that you have a wrong naming in a function, which is then changed in 3.4 to saying that you have an undefined name, whereas in 2.7 it says it's an undefined global name, which doesn't make any sense. So, and that's some of the curiosities that are a problem. And they are, like I said, they're working on adapting it. So there is a version of Xbox that can run with 3.4, but it's not supported by edX. So, and the worst case scenario was that you can't even use the development system on Windows. I at least spent more or less the first 2 months of the first sprint trying to make it work, only to get Marius to say, no, it doesn't work on Windows. Because the error was I got the symbolic links, and symbolic links is basically Linux's way of saying that you have a long path, the language is going to shorten into something else. And that doesn't work with Windows, because Windows has their own way of making 5-path strings with the semicolons and such. And yeah, so it was a learning experience, that part where you are so restrained that you have to adhere to the rules. So yeah, that's what we have.
Thank you. Any questions?
It's fine.
No? Thank you.
Then a global group.
Just have the Raspberry Pi.
Heat up the times. Fresh from the oven.
No, they're cooling in the window. Ja, det var klart.
Everyone's ready for Christmas.
Ja, men jag må bare den kommer på det. Ja. Det tar 2 sekunder.
No, no. There we go. Okay, great. So, for you guys, we made an awesome UI. So you don't have to see the handle. Where you can insert your home server IP address and port that you want to use for your backup server, as well as your default picture folder, if you have one of those, like your pictures folder. And then you can save those changes, and of course you can swap them out later if you get a new router or something. So this is the sync screen. I'll show you because I don't want to load 550 one-page photos into the virtual machine, it will die. So that's how it will look on a proper computer. So you can have your preview, every folder that's located in your picture folder. So it's you can see every picture that's there. So this is a map of Gjøvik in 551 pictures in different zoom levels. So yeah, so as you can see, this is just loaded from that folder, so you can preview your images, right? So that's the ones I want to sync as my vacation photos from Halley, right? So what hopefully will happen now when I press sync, it will sync this folder to my server that's running here. That's the little Raspberry Pi that's stuck within some cables there. Yeah. This is the server I'm running through SSH. So as you can see, it's running on port 80. And it matches here, port 80, here, not here, but there, yeah. And let's just do one of those and see what happens. So yeah. So it's syncing all the pictures, as you can see, and I can choose to cancel because I don't want to sync for no reason, and then I can resume, and it continues from where it stopped. You're welcome. So
you lost your internet connection is lost or something, then when you go back and try to sync again, then you won't see the same pictures as I didn't see it before. You will start syncing the ones that didn't sync last time.
Yeah. So for this demo, it takes a bit of time because we added a kind of sleep to it, so it doesn't do it so fast. You can see the progress. Right, so if we go into the server here, you can see all the images received and so on. So if I have my backup pictures folder here with my pictures, because that was my picture folder, right? And then if I list, I have the one folder called 1, and there we have another folder for 13, and there's another folder. This is a map, the tile map. So, oh, sorry. There's my pictures backed up on the Raspberry Pi. In the original file structure, as it was on your client, just on the Pi. Now you can have your Pi and it too, or something. Back up to it too. Yeah. So that's is that it for the demo?
Yeah,
it supports encryption. I can reload and start with. I have to start the server again. Sorry. Moment. There's a folder or two here. Yeah. There we go. So you can support, you can set up the port as you want on the server. So you do some port forwarding. You're a hacker. So I can support the encryption, and then it will sync with some encrypted file names, as you can see. And it also says with encryption. So the file names are, so it's encrypted.
And these files are located in an encrypted folder on the server.
So there, as you can see, image name are now encrypted as well as the content. So if we again go into the encrypted folder, there they are. Not much to show, right? You can't really see that it's the same image, but it is. So yeah. Did we get something? I think that was that one. Now Kristin wants to do what Kristin does.
Okay, so this was our sprint. We have finished all our tasks. We have worked on the encryptions we were talking about. We have worked on getting the server code onto the Raspberry Pi and creating the demo. in the GUI. We have worked with the hashing the file content, so we can do a diff in the Flatten server. We have done some testing on our code. We have been working on syncing part. We have added Doxygen to our project for documentation. We have installed and used Valgrind for analyzing our code memory stuff. So this is our burnout charge. So as you can see, we didn't do quite as much work in the beginning as we did in the end. And this here is just a bug in Jira with estimation, just copying to use of the vegan. That's not very good. Yeah. And as you can see here, we have to use stories left in our backlog. These are the 2 stories that our customer said to us that we should not do because he wanted the main functionality to function properly. So we worked on that. Sirjan, would you want to talk about the testing?
No tools?
Okay.
The tools?
Tools?
We have used certain tools for the project, so it's just like Jira, which we use for the project management. We use it for the user stories, logging listing the user stories, the tasks, etc., and assign the tasks to Sprint also. We estimated the work using in the Jira and also log the work in the Jira. As Jira was not used before by most of us, it took some time to get familiar with the tool, but it proved helpful for all of us at last to view which team members are doing which tasks and which tasks are done and which are in the review. So it was helpful to visualize the progress of the project. Similarly, the Confluence was used for the documentation and the information sharing requirements. Dev tools such like the use of VMs, etc., were documented in the Confluence. But mostly Skype and Facebook private groups were used for the internal communication between the team members, and also Scrum meeting and meeting with the customer were also held in the Skype. Similarly, other tools we used were the Git for the version control, and we created a private repository in Bitbucket as it was we are working on the customer's project. So it depends on him. It should be open source or he wants to keep it private. So we keep it as private. So at last, and in the last sprint, customers suggested us to use the Valgrind as a testing tool to find the memory bugs and the threading bugs that may be in the program. So at last, we used the Valgrind to test the memory management box. That's it for the tools, and it was really helpful to learn, and we get the learning experience from the tools as well.
What's that testing strategy?
During the beginning of the project, we were discussing quite a bit of different testing strategies that we could employ. We talked about using Jenkins for unit testing quite a bit, and we actually also started implementing quite a bit of unit tests. But after a certain point in the project, looking at the time we have left and the relatively small scale of the project, and so we talked to the customer and we decided that we would focus on manual testing with manual test cases provided by the customer, which encompassed the core functionality that Anders just showed off. We have tested it quite thoroughly with the test cases in mind, with the 500 images, and it works. What can I say? We also used Valgrind for testing memory, and it has worked out pretty well for our project, I think. Yeah.
we've been operating on the principle that you test your code, or you build it, you test it, ensure that it works, and then you push.
At least for, yeah.
That was our
very
customers, what I heard is
only push if you have a code that can compile and run and handle merge management, merge conflicts locally. Considering the size of our project, I think that is pretty viable strategy.
So Jana, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about the positive experiences and negative experiences we had in this whole project. So first of all, the team meeting we had in Helsinki, we all thought it was very beneficial to get to know each other and also make the team formation faster. Then also a good thing was that we all stick to the daily Scrum routine we have 2 times a week to share info and work split between the tasks. And yeah, just to talk to each other to catch up what is going on. And everyone did their work, did their tasks, so it was good. So everyone were very good at doing what they promised. And the communication between the team was good. Also with the customer, we have good discussions and also been open to ask for help or if there have been some issues. And then in general, good spirit in the team. Everyone wanted to get the work done, so there were no big issues. We didn't see any bigger cultural issues either. So all in all, it's been pretty good experience. And then the more negative or something that we would need improvement. Well, because we're a global team, it's a little bit hard to be on the same page all the time, what is happening, because we don't have the day-to-day interaction and we don't, see on the corridor and change info on there. So you weren't always up to date exactly what people were doing. If, people were working on a code and it was not uploaded in Git or something. So there was some delay on that. And there were quite a lot of new tools. Some of us knew some, but also the programming language was new, so it took time to learn everything. There were a lot of new things to learn. And we also had a customer giving us quite open hands concerning the technology we are using, so we used some time for studying different options. So the coding work was started pretty late at the end of the first sprint. So we could have started earlier. Another thing that the schedules did not meet, for example, planning for meetings and things, it was difficult to find a slot to fit all. We were first 6 students and then later on 5, and then also if we had meetings with the customer. So sometimes it was tricky to find a common slot. And then also there were other school work, other projects, people were busy, so the work was done, with other projects too, so that was also affecting this project because sometimes you were more busy with the other projects and sometimes this was taking more time. So, yeah. And then there was also some difference what the universities require and what the customer require. For example, WebQI or Jenkins used from the university, and then the customer was thinking that that is not necessary, that he would prefer us to focus on the core functionality. And so, but I think we managed pretty okay. I mean, we have a working product, and the customer seems happy. So, all in all, I think we've done good. I don't know about this sprint. Just in this sprint, I think we had better understanding of the code. Learning coding with C and the communication and working with the tools. So, in the 3rd sprint, everything was more smooth. What could have been done better is still to maybe work more together, but because of the schedule issues and stuff, we weren't doing as much as code review and are working together as we could have. But yeah. I think that's it from my side.
That's all.
I have a question. Can you elaborate a little bit on the interaction with the customer and have you demoed the last version and what do you know what his plans are for the product or for the software that you developing?
We have.
I didn't hear this question.
I can answer. We are planning to kind of ship it in a few days. He has have access to the repository for most of the most of the project time. Yeah, and he has looked at our code along the way and given tips and hints and a few things and so on. So and his plans are, I think he's planning to use it in his Photostories is a startup in Finland. So that's around 7 or so.
And I agreed to have a meeting with Florian next week just to hear feedback after he's been doing more testing. So we will hear more through customer feedback also.
And he's happy with the kind of functionality that you were able to implement?
Yeah,
that
was
what he was looking for.
Yeah, he was looking for this, and this were kind of a nice to have or extra nice to have. Yeah. The main thing about this is to save your photos at home on a cheap device.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Can you see this one more time?
You're happy about it.
That's what happens when you have a reigning champion of Iskira 2014 and or returning champion 2015 apparently. So
we had a long night's work.
This is just Photoshop.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Kari, before we take a break, I might go up there. Before we take a break, yeah.
I'm not hearing you, though.
No, I can't.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm coming up. So I don't know why. It used to work quite nicely, but I guess somebody hiding the microphone.
Yeah, now it's fine. Now it's fine.
Yeah, I know, because I'm right on top of the microphone, so I should be fine.
Don't worry, I got a free phone.
Yeah. But Kari, so maybe before we take a short break, maybe you go through the visualization that you had. Do that? You have it already?
Yeah, I have it actually here, so I can start sharing. So yeah, so this is a.
So you need to introduce because I hadn't said anything to the students about it, so you need to start from.
Yeah, that's what I actually started to explain. So we have a research project where a couple of PhD students are actually working on different ways of visualizing software projects and how they go and how they do. And one of those tools is actually to get data from Jira and create some new type of visualizations on how the project goes. With an idea that it could be easier for the team and maybe the management also to follow how the things goes. And this is actually now the global team that I selected to be here. And what you can see here is first, I think in the beginning you have put a tickets or task stories. The stories have not been closed, but they have been started in the very beginning. And then if I'm looking at the first sprint, there's kind of sprint, but there's a clear learning that the second sprint is really showing as something started, and this color is that this orange is to do and blue is in progress, and then if you have the dot at the end, it has been somehow closed. So the nice thing is to see that there are two last sprints have been pretty clear and clean in terms of following the Scrum principles. If I'm looking at the overall thing for the whole project, so it's not as clear. But I was actually expecting that the global team have to follow more discipline, otherwise they are in trouble. But then there are some of these other project acronyms. So there's something that's called SA, unfortunately, from that visualization, I can't recognize the sprints. And I don't now even know what are the different teams doing, but let's do then there's this EDX. And what's happening there? There's something was happening in the very beginning of September, and here the second sprint, it starts to look like a sprint, and the last sprint is more clear, although it doesn't show if all the tickets have been closed on the Jira. That might be the problem with. Oh, they are actually most of them have been closed. So that shows that this visualization type should actually show that there are kind of time-boxed sprints available. And this kind of, the idea of this kind of visualization is to be the short glance to show that how things go. And if the project is to give a picture to management on or theme in a quick way, then there is this thing called ROG.
So Kari, just to let you know, so this server is being used by many other projects here as well, student projects in very many different courses. So
okay,
so these are from other student groups, other courses. So the three ones here is the edX, and the two that start with GSD, the GSD local team and GSD global team. So these are the three that are actually in this course. So you can see the GSD global team and the GSD local team, and the edX. Those are the three that are the server is being used by other courses as well.
Right, yeah. So this is the local team.
Yeah.
So there is clearly actually seeing that there has been kind of 2 planning sessions for the second sprint here, and then some new has been added here, and here the third sprint, and then it's kind of indicates that at least Jira has not been used too much for the first sprint.
Which reflects reality.
That's good. This is a good finding. This is a tool that the visualization should expose something from the project.
Yeah. Would it be possible for you to generate images from each of the 3 projects and give it to the students, so they can use that in the reports when we discuss a little bit the process?
Of course. I'll make a screenshot and send those.
Perfect.
Oh, I can actually put them to this.
Put them on conference. Yeah, put them on the conference server.
I'll do that. It might be delayed to the evening, but anyway, I hope to do that today.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I think it's quite a useful visualization. I mean, because you can see with the Jira and the burnout chart, it doesn't tell you this type of information. So I think this is quite valuable.
And also, I would be glad to hear all kind of feedback on that visualization, because I will forward that to these researchers who are working on that visualization, because it's work in progress. And it might even be that if I had a new version of visualization tool, it might even be a bit different.
Yeah,
at least I know that the ordering algorithm for this has been somehow changed.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully the groups, when they get these diagrams and start looking at them, hopefully they have some feedback to you, and they'll send it to you guys if they have some feedback about the visualization.
And these are not really now here to criticize, but help you to reflect on how it went at the
yeah.
But I'm interested to read that how the teams are actually reflecting from this.
Exactly. I think the retrospective isn't about negative criticism. It's about learning. It's about seeing what happened and trying to learn in the next sprint. So,
right.
Should we have a 10-minute break?
Sounds great.
So according to Norwegian time, it should be then, let's say 12:40, and then it's 1:40, I guess, on your side, right? Or is it?
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, that's the wrong time. The time is on the PC is wrong. So it should be 11:40 and 12:40. 10 minutes.
Yeah, we also have this wall clock that is wrong time.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have a wall clock, so we don't know.
Yeah, it's more about, yeah.
What happens?
Interactive.
Ja, da har vi alle sammen.
Jeg hadde ikke trua. Men det er en ting når du står der og skal skje.
Altså bare, vi har liksom laget her rapporten på det mellom alle.
Ja.
Vi har liksom sagt at vi ingen skriver med etter fordi at det må levere opp. Så vi får lest det, så vi får levere.
Ja. Nei, men en sånn liten visualisering, det går bra.
Ja, ja.
Det går jo i den prosessdelen, altså den forandrer jo mye av diskusjonen der, det bare gjør det lett å...
Ja, men da kan du se litt med hvordan
Ikke sant?
framgangen har vært.
Ja, ikke sant? Ja, de sprintene opp mot hverandre. Det tror jeg blir bra. Det er en presentasjon framfor skjermen, jeg finner det altså. Men skjermen her er helt uskrevet. Det burde ikke være. Det som kommer på. Det er borte.
Ja, det kan vi bli enige. Jeg må skrive ferdig. Og mer her da, nesten. Nei. Kan jeg konkludere med noe som er? Ja. Bare, jeg bare... Nei, men det er bare introduksjon, konklusjon. Jeg gir litt sånn pause i teksten. Det er greit å ha et par bilder innom der inne her. Nei, du satt på, har du ikke bilder? Ja, det var bare slutt. Det er for Markus, det er det som teller. Da er alt annet akseptabelt. Nei, men det var moro. Når du snakker om garden rush, er det bare om å gjøre å få mest mulig bort og flest mulig garden fortest mulig? Ja, nettopp. Det var det jeg tenkte. Nei, det var ikke noe. Nei. Vi som er vant til å spille sterk, vet du, i Starcraft, vi liker å rushe tidlig. Det er bare ingen rush. Men Rune, har du lagt opp til lunsj i dag? Mellom her?
Ja, vi er jo ferdige.
Ja, fordi det var det vi skulle si at det var det ingen som var interessert i. Vi får bare en pose da.
Nei, vi tar det 10 minutter nå, så kan vi gå gjennom de rullene der, og så oppsummerer vi, og så er vi ferdig.
Bra.
Utgangspunktet vi hadde håpet å få inn, har jeg vært i kontakt med noen finske, for å få inn noen eksterne, og da hadde det kunne vært tatt lenger. Ja, men når vi nå er sånn som vi er, så er det bare å avslutte her. Jeg hadde det.
Hvorfor det?
Det var da han over.
Jeg sa ikke et ord for det til deg. Unnskyld, du har vært kalt. Ja.
Du får si at du har hatt.
Sorry, han kunne.
Ja, jeg vet ikke om han var i kontakt med deg, men han
Han kunne sikkert ha gjort det.
Men han driver på seg selv. Men han har jo sikkert ikke gjort det i 20 år. Han har jo 20 år bransjeerfaring.
Alltid går det dit.
Bare trykke på den, så blir den.
Nå er det telefonen var litt.
Bare kan du riste på nøkkelen. Hvis telefonen og nøkkelen borte,
Ja.
og da kan man trykke på klokka. Det vet du jo. Hvis telefonen er borte, så er det bare sånn. Ja. Der var den. Jeg må løfte ræva. Ja. Jeg får ikke regne ut det sånn, liksom. Det var rart, for den er litt mye oppgitt. For den er bare fløy og gal, egentlig. Den er litt liten når iPhone er flyttet. Hvis jeg setter den sånn. Ja. Og så må jeg logge inn her. Ja. Har du sånn, da? Screen share. Det var alltid med.
Det skjønner jeg.
Ja, det er sånn det er når det er demo. Da skal vi vise frem deg, du fikk når du lurer. Yes. Du er ikke meningen. Og så bare, når du funker ikke for deg selv, jo, det er feature. Det er bare gitt feature. You can get a t-shirt that says that. Det er bare gitt feature. Ja. Og så den der Merry Christmas, you feel the animal.
So in your project, the encryption is client side or server side?
Client side and send to the server.
Encrypt, yeah, send encrypted to the server.
Yeah, but who keeps the keys? Client or server or both?
I think, yeah, that's Jana's part. I know. I know that. I don't know who keeps. I think Brian keeps the key, because it's supposed to be
already clear text on the server.
Yeah. So we just use A as a key, so letter A, and then.
No.
So it was one thing that we discussed in the end, that we didn't have a easier
Yeah. For some of them, because implement encryption. It's too vague.
And we didn't get information from the customer about how he would do the encryption. So if you have sent half of the pictures encrypted, or every picture encrypted, and then you
resync it and all the pictures again.
Both the name and the contents, both being encrypted.
Yes.
But and the name.
But not the folders. Or you?
The problem is that the tree structure isn't there. But it's somewhere in the file name, I think.
You could. So you could.
Yeah,
you could keep it.
The encryption part is in a bit vague. We want. It says I want encryption. Okay.
But it sounds like it's security by security word. I know well.
Oh well, Jana's written a pretty serious functionality for encryption. So
yeah.
She's
yeah,
on.
but it's just that the deep thing that is not done because so different it has been sent to the server encrypted.
Yeah, it has to resync every time. All the pictures, if you
all encrypted are going to be resynced every time.
Yeah,
and with encryption, without. No.
Then it works, but we didn't get that information from them because how are we supposed to? We're supposed to say that information because of the security. We didn't want to implement anything that the customer didn't say.
You could store a hash on the server.
And they should.
Yeah, that's
to
what
match the
we
hash.
talked about as well.
Yeah, we talked about it. But
Or at least.
Because how are you comparing the images anyway? Like without encryption.
We hash the file content and file.
But the hash of the file content of an encrypted file is not the same as the hash of a content of an unencrypted file, right? So
that's true, but the server can ask for the hash.
Yeah.
And compare it to the hash that the server has.
We also talked about just sending the hash, because it's a SHA-256 anyways.
Yeah.
So you can just send it from the client to the server and
Exactly.
store it there.
Yeah.
We hash it on the client and then we hash it on the server as well. Without the encryption.
The other problem is that then you have to index the files by hashes, not by the names, because the server doesn't know the names.
But we index it by hash now anyways.
Right.
Yeah. We don't based on.
Okay, so then it should be
No.
doable.
Yeah. We would just it wasn't the issue until yesterday or the day before. So.
yeah, when we implemented the whole encryption.
And it's not it hasn't been a use case either.
Yeah, so we didn't know what solution he wanted, so
But as you say, it's a quick fix. Right? It's not that much work. So.
Yep. I'm assuming he's gonna redo some parts anyway.
So, should we just get started? I think you have the microphone muted.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So, as we were saying, we are trying to have some company representatives come in and say a little bit about the value of what you're doing here in terms of working afterwards. What would the industry expect from graduates? And Kari and the guys in Tampere tried to get one, because we have had one Dag. He was contributing to this course for some years, and he was giving this because he worked for several Norwegian companies, no different types of industry. And he was giving this presentation, and now we tried to have someone from Tampere come in, and we weren't able to get so I had to be the stand-in and just go through the slides that I was preparing and that he used the previous versions of this course. So, some of the issues that you might be interested in is, one, how to get a job, and more importantly, when you get a job, how can you succeed in that job? That's kind of what this is about. And his perspective was to looking from the industry and what are the needs and dreams of the industry. So what they hope for, and this is like whenever you buy a product, you hope for the product to give everything, but in reality it won't. So some parts are not fully fulfilled, but they hope at least to have, when they hire you guys, they will hope to have somebody with skills. Lots of skills in programming, in development, in collaboration skills, and have experience. Not just be a theoretical guy reading up all this and programming by themselves, but working in a group and have experience from group work, from development work, from research type of work. But also personality also matters. It's not like the companies will be looking for as just one type of personality. Typically, they will try to make teams in which the personalities work together. So if they have lots of nerds and introverts, they may want to have a couple of extroverts added to the team, and vice versa. Most importantly, I would say, would be curiosity. I mean, you're going to be working in an environment in which you need to be self-driven, and then curiosity is a good driving force. And then, of course, the drive. And in addition to the fact that when you get picked for a certain job, it's not just your skills, but also how well you fit with the team. So it's not just about you being the right person, it's being you in that context. There are also the differences between the different industries. So different types of companies and different industries have different needs. So what Doug was doing was looking at the corporate companies, consultants, product development companies, web development companies, and what they call the cool guys. So we'll say a little bit about what these expect. And then there are some common needs that would apply to all these types of companies and industry. So, corporate, big corporations. They typically run not many projects, but they might be quite big projects. And the typical type of project would be involving quite a lot of maintenance. They have lots of code base, a huge code base already. And so the edX projects will fit into that category. There's lots of code, different generations. The documentation may not be all that good. It may be non-existent or outdated. And there are some new features. There are some bugs to be changed. So there's a lot about maintenance of applications, configuration. It doesn't work on Windows. I mean, all the experiences you've been through, it fits into the category. Upgrade and support. How do you know what the software is supposed to do? How do you get in touch with those who develop it? They may not be very responsive, and you need to buy new libraries and new software. So I think your experience here is very relevant for a lot of this. And then there might be some smaller projects. In smaller companies, there might be smaller projects, And in that, there's more diversity for the smaller projects. They need something and they will develop it. It may not be so application maintenance heavy. Corporations are favor Java or .NET to a large degree. You may expect this to be quite large Java, JVE type of applications or .NET applications. But you could find a lot of old stuff hanging around there and being part of this. Typically, you will see many different roles, different types of processes. So you may see some agile, but you may also see some more traditional waterfall models. There are different types of processes and models. And to largely degree project-based. And there are non-technical issues involved in terms of distributed teams, in terms of where people are reporting, and the whole organizational structure. Because these are typically small and agile companies. Then they have the consultants. They also have quite a lot of big projects and small projects, so kind of similar to the corporations, because consultants will typically come in and do the work for a company, so it's quite similar. And it's, again, Java.NET. You have, again, large teams with many roles and processes. In Norway, they tend to be, you have to speak Norwegian in Norway because you're working closely with companies and where business language is Norwegian. Not necessarily always. Now, if you want to be in that industry, there are two, as David pointing out, there are two important characteristics. One is that you need to be flexible because consultants will go in and do every type of jobs. It's not like they do just this programming. They need to fix problems typically in many different areas. And you need to be a little bit extrovert. You deal with customers, you deal with, and a consultant would always be a sales agent for the company, consultancy company, because what they really do is also to secure future business with that company. So being a bit extrovert and being good at dealing with people, having people skills, and being a salesperson for the organization is kind of necessary. In product development, in Norway, you have companies like Competence, Visma, SuperOffice, and I guess in Tampere you have many of these companies. The one the Go team is working with is one such small startup company that's typically developing new products, and they may be some larger technical projects or embedded. Now these days, there are more of these products are embedded into hardware systems. Again, Java.NET. But there is more a variety of as you can see, you had C for the global team. Again, here, the team sizes and processes vary a lot. Some of this might be small, like this startup company. Some of them might have larger projects. So it's more of a variety, and the focus is typically on the long term. You have a product that you can be developing and delivering for a long time. Consultants tend to come in to do some job to upgrade the system, and then they leave. This is more of a long-term type of projects. There's not so much projects; it's more like a regular product. It's not project with start and end date. And then, of course, you have web projects coming now or being here for a while, and they tend to be big again. So typically, there's a big corporate project. So they have a big backend, but they want to have a web presence to that big backend. And you may have some smaller projects, some in-house development to make a simple web interface to some software or application, or there might be some specialized companies that are in there. And the web CMS, the content management system, is an important piece of API and software you need here. We are now seeing mobile first, so meaning that you develop for the mobile apps and how you run on the smartphone first. And responsive design, which means that the design will adapt to whatever screens and environment and gives the user immediate feedback when you operate on the interface. And then, of course, REST. I don't know about you guys if you know about REST, but our students have had that in courses already, the whole web type of architecture. And then, of course, we talked about JavaScript and the JavaScript frameworks. And on the server side, you may see Java or .NET Plus or PHP or Ruby or cloud computing. There are lots of technologies on the server side there. And then we have these cool guys. And there you see Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, and some of the big innovators have quite a lot of projects, and there are quite a lot of open source. We were doing edX. I don't know if you consider that to be the cool guys, but at least there are projects that are more in that open source with lots of new technologies spinning off from the big players. And again, here you have much more variety in Android, iOS, Ruby, Scala, Java, and you have specialized platforms, embedded systems, you have Raspberry Pis and others. This is really compared to the corporate big system, this is very much where the cool guys would like to be, and it opens up for more possibilities. And it depends now what skills the industry would ask for. It depends on what type of company, which of these. Are they cool guys, or is it a web company, or is it a corporate company? But there are still some common needs. So the basic software engineering and programming. So what you'll be doing in this project is working with the software engineering process. I mean, the whole management. How break it into user stories and run into sprints and manage the project that way. But also the pure programming, figuring out how edX is to be programmed or how to encrypt, how to do the programming. And then you need to be able to pick the right types of tools for different problems. So for that, you need technical skills and experience and project and process experience. Because as you can see, some of the tools are development tools. And you need to get them up and running, and you need to build, and you need to run the tests. But then some of them are also then project management tools for keeping up to date on what is the status of the project, and communication tools. You need a bit of both. And knowing a little bit of the challenges of different types of projects and industries. So you could say that some of the challenges you've been having here is that you're doing this course parallel to other courses, and you have deadlines and exams and everything. Well, welcome to the corporate world, because the same thing happens there. These companies, they are delivering software for various different customers, and the customers have needs that need to be fulfilled at the same time. And the companies also have other activities. So what you experience here is very, very much the reality when you graduate as well. It's not like you can expect everything to be nicely lined out. And you need a little domain knowledge. So as you've been seeing already for the edX, you need to go down into the understanding how teaching works, how tests work, how grading works. And for the backup, you need to understand a little bit about the whole photo business, understand encryption, understand the various pieces. So you need a bit of domain knowledge. And what then is the relevant technical expertise? Well, you need expertise in a programming language. I had an interesting discussion with one of my students a few years back, because at that time .NET was very hot. And when they were hiring people, they were always hiring people asking for .NET experience. And we had the students then had Java experience. And one of the students was asking to use me as a reference when they applied for a job. And when the recruiter called and told me that this was a .NET project, I said that, well, you know what, we didn't have much .NET here. And then I don't worry, he said, if he's a good programmer, if he knows Java, he's a good programmer, he can learn .NET by himself. So it's about having experience, not necessarily, I mean, PHP or Ruby or Python, but that type of architecture, that type of setup, that type of language would be important. And you need to have some experience from the same or related type of systems. I mean, fancy rapid web systems, or the more boring large corporate systems, or the cool stuff. So if you have experience in something that is kind of similar. It doesn't have to be exactly the same what the company is asking for. Ideally, the company is asking for a guy with all these nice skills and knowing all these languages. But in reality, those are very rare. Those candidates are rare. So they look for the closest match. So just be aware of, in this project and other projects, what type of systems, what type of languages you have experience from. And then being exposed to the relevant tools. And it's good when one of the groups are saying that, okay, we've been using Jira in so many projects now, so it doesn't cost us anything extra. We know that. This is standard behavior. That's what we want to see. And because these are the types of tools you will be seeing out in the industry. And with that experience, you should be able to quickly get into productive mode. Knowing how to navigate in big frameworks. So I think those of you working with ethics, although it was a pain, it's also given you some experience that is quite useful in many projects, because quite a few of these projects are large projects in which a large part of the code comes from other places. So the experience you have in dealing with a large unknown base of existing software and not so well documented, not in one place. All that experience, although it's painful now, it's going to be valuable when you apply for a job, possibly. Then process and project experience, tools and techniques. I mean, we've been using Jira, Confluence, we have been working Agile. We will try to do a little bit of continuous integration and structured testing. So you have a bit of that experience. Although we haven't put it all together in the way that the company might be using, you have understanding of the whole process, and you can adapt to whatever needed. Then the roles, being the Scrum Master, being a Build Master, knowing a little bit about what are the roles of being a system architect, knowing a bit and having some experience from the various types of roles. It's also important to think about your kind of personal experience or interpersonal experience, working with other people. What cases didn't work for you guys, and why didn't it work? What could you do to make it work? In what cases did it work, and why did it work, and would you be able to recreate that? That is important to reflect on. But also, what are your own goals and preferences? Because it's not just a matter of how you getting a job. It's also about you getting a job you want, and getting a job that fits your needs and interests. So because the company will be more happy to hire someone that actually has the preferences and the goals that match the company goals. Because that's the best. Then we know that goals of the individuals and goals of the company are well aligned. That's the best thing. And whatever experience in a virtual international setting, that's what this course is about. Trying to expose you to that kind of setting. And then this is what Dag was saying, from a technical side, he was a system architect. When he was hiring someone, what would he hope that the candidate knows his experience and has skill set? And one is in maintenance, because most students get to start from scratch, developing software from scratch, but most of the software is going to be maintained because it's going to be living for a long time. And having experience with software maintenance, with larger systems that were a big part of the code base has been developed a long time ago, and you need to continue working on it. And understanding of the software development cycle, not just the initial development side, but also the bug fixing side, also the new release type of work. You should be able to read UML diagrams. You should be able to do unit tests and understand the whole testing, integration, coverage we talked about. And understand the uncertainty of requirements. I hope that all of you have experienced that the customer seems to be quite fuzzy in terms of what they ask for. And that is reality, because the customer never really knows what they want. The customer has an idea, and when you show what you thought they were asking for, they say, no, this is not what I asked for. So understanding that requirements are never be trusted fully. At least up to the point where you have an acceptance test type of specification. When you have acceptance test specifications, then at least you know that you need to pass these tests, and then you probably are close to understand what the requirements are. So, object-oriented programming, I like Netcode. Must know SQL. Databases are everywhere. You need to be able to deal with databases. And web technologies, would even in corporate projects, you have web interfaces and web front ends to the big systems. And understand the roles in the team. And being able to see how, I mean, you have the formal roles, but you also have the informal roles. Who is an expert on integration? Who is an expert on the architectural side? Who is an expert on tweaking the software? And understanding what possible roles and what is your strength and what do you need from others to work very well. And from human resources, from those hiring, there are some other needs and interests to look for. So I mean, here, you're pretty free. You can show up late in the morning and you can work late at night, and if other employees are here or your team members are here, it doesn't matter. But in a company, at least not all companies, but some of the companies, there's much stricter rules in terms of our deadlines, finding a role, having a social antenna. I mean, we are pretty much at home. To some degree, we're kind of homogeneous, but not in a company. You're going to meet people with very different types of jobs and backgrounds and experience, and some of the things that we consider being okay is not so okay in other social settings. So have that social antenna. And you have to keep in mind that here, the various team members will have to work with you, because this is, if they were to pass, they have to work with you. But in this case, no one really has to work with you. So if you don't offer anything back, then people would go off and find someone else to work with. You may see, during the interview, you may see some personal tests to see what kind of personality you have. Not necessarily because there's one personality that's perfect for the job, but because your personality needs to fit with the other in the group, in the team that you're working with. Yeah, so in the application, you should summarize a little bit what is your focus points, what experience do you have, what are roles, what are extras that you have experienced, and not just experience, but also the ones that you like doing, because the ideal is a good fit between what you like and what the company needs you to do. Theory is a foundation, but you need to be able to apply the theory. And you need to have quite a lot of practical experience as well for the theory to be useful. Which means that companies aren't always seeking candidates with A's and B's. There might be quite a lot of C's as well if you have something special to contribute on top of that. And if you work for competence, you need that kind of consultant profile, the extrovert, the one who is ready to jinx sales whenever he talks to a customer. So, some of the issues that we need to balance is theory versus practice. I mean, you need a theoretical foundation. Without that, then you can't deal with the complexity of the market or the technology. At the same time, you need that kind of practical experience. And at the university, project work versus courses. Are you doing good at exams, or are you doing good at projects, or both? What are the technologies and tools that will be used? I mean, you have exposed to some tools and languages here. They may not be the ones that you see in the industry at least a few years from now. So being able to see how your experience can transfer into similar systems is important. But then on top of this, all these soft issues. I mean, communication, being able to get the best out of your team members, yourself and the team members, be able to work together and make it work, and be a bit flexible in the team, so that the team can be optimally productive, not you optimally happy working with them. these were the kinds of, and I hope, and at least when I did this, I think it was quite a nice match between the experiences that I hope that we had in the very stage of this project and what type of experience and what type of skills the industry will be asking for. Because it's not just about getting A's and B's on all these exams, and these exams being in subjects that you could see all companies asking for knowledge in, being it .NET or being it Agile, whatever. But this is the totality of experience and theoretical foundation. Okay, so that's kind of summarizes. And I think this probably fits very well with your impression from what the industry is asking for.
Exactly. So it's actually very nice to listen to this again. Now to comparing we had a industry for the local seminar for the local industry representatives over here a couple of weeks back. It was really about where the software engineering profession is going. It was, of course, for us as in a university to learn what the industry is requiring. But of course, it's also for the industry to think about that, what are the demands and how they should develop their staff and everything. And many, many things you mentioned there are we discussed there. So very much in line what you said. When we planned the seminar, we actually had a big historical point of view on how this has been happening. So in the early days, if you're a good programmer, that was the thing, and then you might have there was different profession for the analyst and so on. But you have to be a good programmer. You didn't have to do anything else. You were just a guru. You were a guru, and you were hired. And then what happened was this agile movement came from, and then they started to underline the teamwork. You should have to actually play with the team. And in hiring, these three cases I have heard is that the last opinion is for the team. Do the team thinks that this new candidate is speaking to their team? Because they're looking for a team that can collaborate. So it actually starts to underline different skills. But it doesn't end to that. So many of the softwares are now made in the consultancy type of businesses. And almost the same type of thing is in many startups nowadays. But you actually have to understand the customers and the users. So in many places it kind of goes that the programmers actually have to sell themselves to the customers on a daily basis. And that includes technical skills and personality. It often happens so that you have to be kind of sales guy. So that starts to be requiring kind of miracle person that is at the same time sales guy, a skillful programmer. But okay, these are the extremes. So then for the programming, I was really glad to hear from experienced industry guys saying that they shouldn't be so keen on certain programming language, but generic programming skills. Okay, as a professor, I was so happy about hearing that, because that's something that we have been preaching, that it's much better to have a good programmer that doesn't know the language than have an average programmer that doesn't know the language. The good programmer can bypasses the other one in a week. It just happens. So exactly. Then in general, many of the things you mentioned about kind of knowing what we are doing, understanding complex complex things. So I would encourage all the students to think about reasons for things that we want, understanding why tools are like that, why languages are like that, why the processes like Scrum is like that. So it might be just need to get good grades to memorize everything that is in the book or said by the lecturer. But in reality, understanding those things and also know the details. And that's of course something that we should also improve in our teaching. And I should also improve in exams and asking for the understanding and not that much about memorizing those things. Then, at the same time, of course, what I've been seeing, and it was discussed also many times with the companies, that they want to see some proof on what these people have been doing, students have been doing. So the open source project, open source contributions, if we are participating on those, they are really, really valuable assets. We had actually some initial discussion, and then yesterday, no day before, met a person from Jyväskylä in a college there. They are building up for all the courses a Git-based system, and in GitHub actually, with an idea that the students can take all the things that we're doing as a portfolio. Like if those who are studying art, they have this portfolio that they can use. So could it be possible to students actually have a portfolio of what they have been doing, and somehow be able to show that that was my part when I was implementing? So I don't know how the heck we can implement that. We immediately invented several ways of why it might be difficult, but because being able to show that I've been able to create this thing is also very valuable when you're looking for a job. In addition to those non-technical skills. So that's more or less on the same line.
Very good. Yeah, I think it's very universal, very global.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've come to the point where we can start wrapping up. Concluding remarks, not so many, other than there are some reports to write. You need to write a group report and individual reflection report. And I have put up some suggested structural documents. And the reason for having the personal reports in addition to the group reports is for giving each one of you the opportunity to tell your story and a little bit reflect on your own. I mean, the group has a collective experience, but as we've been saying here, it's also about your own reflection, because when you go apply for a job or when you go ahead, you need to know a little bit about your own strengths and your own objectives and your own reflections. So we would like to see that in addition to the group reflections. Any questions to the reports or to that part? Hopefully not. Then we would like to have feedback, because we would like to improve as well, and then we need feedback. So I put in a link to Google document questionnaire where you can fill in. Some of them are just answering by selecting answers, and some of them are more free text. So whatever you think would be valuable to the next group of students. And these type of evaluations, as we said before, the pity is that you don't benefit directly from whatever feedback you give, but you benefit from all the feedback that previous students have given to the same type of courses. So it's important. It's an economy of exchange here. So the feedback you give, you get the benefit from the previous students giving feedback. So if you could fill in those forms, and then we'll try to learn and try to see what we can should improve for next time. Any final remarks, questions, comments? You're all hungry and would like to have some lunch? Yes. Farshad, what about you guys? Any?
No, I do not have it.
Okay. And if you have questions later on the course, you can reach us by email.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to follow too much of this thing, but anyway. That's it. That's another success. Right. Perfect. Correct.
That's what you think, and then next year we learn that we have to have a monthly presentation.
Final shot. Okay, finishing.